Don't ever stop. Don't ever stop. What do you think?
Well, what do I think? That is always the question. What do I think? Well, I did just happen to come across something here. Where is it? There was a fire this morning. Greenwood Fire Service Media Advisory, location 102 Everleen Court, right here in Greenwood. Structural fire with entrapment. Injuries and or deaths. This is the official notice that is coming out. 2 civilians were injured. 1 sustained minor injuries and was treated on the scene, while the other was transported to Self Regional Health Care. City of Greenwood Fire Department assisted, Greenwood County Sheriff's Office, Greenwood County EMS, and Duke Energy. Approximately 25 firefighters responded to the scene. Smoke detector status, it says unknown. Time of control, the initial call was received at 5:59 in the morning. The fire was controlled by 7 a.m. The fire was discovered by an occupant who was awakened by dogs in the home. And this morning, Greenwood County Fire Service responded to a call for a structure fire with entrapment. 2 occupants were inside the home when the fire began. 1 was able to escape on their own, while the first arriving firefighters quickly removed the second occupant from the back of the home. The individual was transported by Greenwood County EMS to Self Regional Health Care. Several dogs were killed in the fire. Oh my goodness. So sad, and just goes to the fact of we can't be too careful with things. I know that one of the things, I don't know in this case, but just in situations where we talk about things that happened, did they have a little heater? Had they left it close to something? Did it catch fire? I mean, I don't know. I am just saying these are some of the things as it gets cold and people start using heaters of any type in their home, that can be a problem. Now, we do not know from that announcement what exactly happened, but still, and I'm sure there'll be an investigation and we'll get more updates on that. But just FYI, keep in mind, you've got to be careful with electric heaters. You know, one of the things, did they have it plugged into an extension cord instead of directly into the wall? I don't know. I'm just throwing out things that I know from having previous discussions with our fire department and this type of thing, and reading things that can cause a fire. So, I guess we'll find out futuristically. I'm sure they'll do an investigation. Doesn't really say how bad the fire was, meaning I don't know whether the structure was totally destroyed. If anybody out there knows, then of course you could give me an update and we would put it out there. This was at 102 Everleen Court right here in Greenwood. Very, very sad. I hope the person that was taken to the hospital is okay. The first person, I guess, got out of the house. Then the firefighters arrived and they removed the other person and they went to the hospital. But this is the time of the year where it's also a good idea. They always say at the time change, it's a good idea to check your smoke detectors to see if you've got, if the batteries are still good or not. All these things are little things that you can do to help yourself, and it is very, very important to do. So I just wanted to mention that. Well, I just got a message, and I am so glad that I did. I got a message. We're going to talk about this in just a moment. But I do think that you need to be very, very careful when you're dealing with heaters. People, of course, when you're cold, you just want to be warm, and I understand that. But please be careful when you're using those heaters. They are great, but they're also a danger. So be careful. Don't know if that was the issue, as I said, but quite often when we have fires in the winter, it had something to do with how people were trying to stay warm. And so sad that several dogs' lives were lost in this. I don't know any more than what I've just told you right here. All right, well, let's see. I'm going to go back to my story here this morning. Because I needed a good news story here this morning. I am glad that the government is back open. I just hate it when people think that they have done something magnanimous when in truth they have only hurt themselves because they couldn't have a kumbaya moment, right? That's what bothers me. I mean, we're talking about the federal government here. They're just like, yay, the government's open. You know what? And they shouldn't have had that problem to begin with because they had September 30th as a deadline. Anyways, the government's back open. The money's going to flow. Just remember this, folks. It is our money that is flowing. So let's talk about this. South Carolina Supreme Court strikes down their legislative pay raise. I want to go on the record. I don't really have a problem if they wanted to discuss a raise. But the bad thing that they did, and then I haven't even read what our South Carolina court said here, but then I'm going to go back and tell you, they did it when they were in conference. After the budget had been done, they put together a conference committee, and that is 3 senators, I believe, and 3 House of Representatives. And they decide what issues of the budget, how they can come together and present a budget to the governor. Well, right at the same time they were having this conference meeting, the Treasury said, ooh, we've got, I don't remember, it was a huge amount of influx overage that they did not anticipate having. So these 6 people, even though it had been discussed on one side, I'm trying to remember now. I think it had been discussed on the Senate side, not on the House side. The House did not take it out. That's right. The Senate had taken it up and voted themselves the raise. The House did not take it up. So in my opinion, it was going to be a dead issue. It would not be something that would come about in this session. I was satisfied. And then they went to conference committee, and I guess those 3 senators said, well, House of Representatives, what do you think? We got all this extra money. I wasn't in the room. I don't know, but I'm making a supposition here. Let's go ahead and do this raise. So they came out of conference committee and voted themselves. The 6 people said, we're adding the raise in. That was horrible. Fortunately, some people said they did not want the money. Some people voted against it. And so that is a good thing. I just heard from... And the thing about it is they wanted to make it... Here's the big rub on it. They wanted to make it where the money would be effective the 1st of July. This was back, in May, I think. They wanted it when the new budget, they wanted it effective the 1st of July. Well, there was a lot of uprising. Me and a lot of other people out there didn't think that was right. And while I can see a point that they have to at least be able to cover their expenses, when you actually take what they make, with everything added in, maybe they need to be looking at modernizing how they do business. There's a lot of things, we need more regular people down there, we need this, we need that. Well, the bottom line, the way our legislature is structured, meaning from January till May, they meet 4 days a week. Unless you own your own business, unless you are retired, for many, you don't have the flexibility to give you 5 months, 4 months out of your office, out of your business, and only have Mondays and Fridays. And, I might add, on many Mondays, they are down there working on stuff. So for 4 days a week, they are have a full-time job down there. Now, I agree, it may not be right, but maybe they need to look at restructuring how they do their business. If Texas can do it, and I'm sure there's other states out there that can do it, then maybe South Carolina could do it. But that's neither here nor there. The bottom line is they voted to raise when it went to through conference committee. There were a few that decided that this was not right. So now we're going to go over this South Carolina Supreme Court strikes down legislative pay raise. I think one of the big issues on the raise was, as I said, they wanted it to be effective July 1st. That means that the public, the voters, do not get to weigh in on whether they think this is a good idea or not as far as the legislator getting the money. If they had voted for a raise that was effective the next term, then maybe that would have been okay. But there was a lot better way to do this than what they went around it. I think they got a little greedy right at the last minute. So I did just happen to get a message from Representative McCravey saying, I voted against the raise. We should be concentrated on helping our citizens and not our own pay. So, I just thought we would go on the record. There are several legislators who vowed not to take the money. And I don't know, we'll read that article in just a minute, but they voted not to take the money. Some of them voted for the money to go to certain charities. A lot of people did a lot of different things. But somebody decided they should take this to the courts, and I sure am glad that they did. Let's go ahead and check this article out. This was legislators illegally gave themselves a pay raise this year. The state Supreme Court ruled Wednesday in an order that strikes both their normal allowance and the hike. So, how much did legislatures make? They make, $10,000 a year and then $1,000 a month in in-district expense. A clause in the state budget called for legislators to receive $18,000 more annually in a so-called in-district compensation, which is meant to cover expenses outside of the state house. Both the state Supreme Court paused those payments before they ever began after a GOP senator sued in protest. Instead of getting a raise, legislators have taken a pay cut since the budget took effect July 1st. That is because the challenged budget clause is also what provided the legislators $12,000 yearly for in-district costs since 1995. The High Court's ruling means the monthly payments they've already missed aren't just suspended, they're gone through at least this year. No matter how well-intentioned or long overdue, the result of the 126 General Assembly's increase in in-district compensation without either limiting language in the proviso or delaying implementation of the increase to the seating of the 127th, which would be next January, is to increase its own compensation, which our state's constitution expressly prohibits, the opinion reads. All 5 justices signed on to the 8-page order. The state constitution makes it clear legislators can't raise their own salary mid-session, justices wrote. Instead, any salary increase must go into effect after an election In this case, at least January 27th. That's officially the beginning of the new General Assembly. Legislature's decisions to start collecting the increase July 16th, the first pay date of the fiscal year, violated the state constitution according to the opinion. The ruling does not affect the legislator's $10,400 annual salary, which hasn't changed since 1990. Now, I agree, that's old, but that's not the issue here. In passing the budget clause, senators argued they needed a raise to keep up with inflation. Justices had no argument there. Legislators' pay, which ranks among the lowest in the country, is paltry in comparison to the time, energy, and effort it takes to serve South Carolinians as a state legislature, the opinion reads. Have they checked out Texas? That's what I want to know. Some legislators spend their in-district compensation just in the gas necessary to crisscross large districts for events and meetings with people they represent. Legislatures in favor of the pay raise and their attorneys have argued. You know, there is a question. There is a question here. What you drive is, of course, your choice. But that doesn't mean that the people of South Carolina need to pay for a big-ass truck, if you want to say it that way, or some gas-guzzling whatever. It doesn't mean you have to have the most efficient, but it does mean that you should be, if you're in that position, you should be aware of it. It's not incumbent upon the public to pay for extravagance. I'll just put it that way, extravagance. I'm not expecting them to drive around in, as Dave Ramsey says, a hoopty, but we can be a little economically frugal about what we drive in. And if you choose to drive something because you can and you want, then that is, of course, your right. But I don't think we should be expecting the public to pay for that. All right, not only that, okay, go ahead, Ann. Some legislatures spend their in-district compensation just in the gas necessary to crisscross large districts with the people they represent. Legislatures in favor of the pay raise and their attorneys have argued. But the budget clause puts no parameters on spending. Instead, legislators can use their monthly allotment to pay bills such as mortgage or car payments or buy anything they want, Justice George James pointed out during arguments in front of the court last month. Attorneys argued over whether the money was per diem, which literally means per day, which the Constitution bars legislators from raising for themselves. Of note, our legislators do get a per diem when Congress is in session. They get, I don't remember, I'd have to look it back up, but they do get that to travel there. They get travel expenses. They get a per diem. So, justices focus on whether the pay qualified as a reimbursement. Legislators have every right to increase the amount they can receive to reimburse official costs. But the budget clause, technically called a proviso, didn't do that, justices wrote. The General Assembly has given us nothing on which to presume the money budgeted for in the proviso will be used for official expenses. That was my other problem with it. It was like giving themselves a tax-free raise. I mean, I spent a lot of time talking about it back when this happened. But anyways, in fact, as petitioners argue, the signs point You are listening to WCRS Radio. It is 10 o'clock in the great city of Greenwood. The General Assembly has given us nothing. This is from the justices. The General Assembly has given us nothing in which to presume the money budgeted for in the proviso will be used only for official expenses. In fact, as petitioners argue, the signs point to the contrary. Legislators must report their in-district compensation as part of their income on tax returns, which they don't for reimbursement. And it counts as income when calculating retirement benefits, Justice wrote. This is a victory for the taxpayers of South Carolina, said Senator Wes Clymer, who filed the lawsuit. The constitutional principle that legislatures cannot appropriate to themselves more of the people's money without the people weighing in at the ballot box has prevailed. Clymer of Rock Hill was among 44 Republicans in both chambers to turn down the raise. Others said during budget deliberations they planned to donate the increase, though they never had the chance since the state's highest court halted payments before the first deposit hit legislators' bank accounts. I think this shows that Senator Clymer showed tremendous courage in bringing this lawsuit and held his fellow legislators' feet to the fire on this obviously illegal act, said his attorney, former Senator Dick Harpootlian of Columbia. Spokespeople for the House Speaker and Senate President, who joined in to defend the legislature, did not immediately provide comments on the opinion. Yeah, I guess not. Some supporters of the pay increase criticized the decision, particularly because it slashed legislatures' normal pay. I understand the pain. Okay, I understand the pain from the legislatures. I understand it. But it is not their money just to do this, and probably would have had a different outcome if they had looked at it to be something on the 2027 budget. And on top of that, they say, oh, we haven't got a raise since 1995 or 1990, whatever it was. That is not our fault. And that doesn't mean you get to come in and make a bigger grab because they feel they should get it. Representative Hamilton Grant, who represents northeastern suburbs of Richland County, said the pay cut has made it more difficult for him to travel to town halls and other events with his constituents. As a father of 3 young children, the Columbia Democrat added that he's grateful he represents a small district geographically compared to legislatures who represent rural areas that span multiple counties. Democrats have long said the paltry pay prevents South Carolinians with lower-paying jobs from running for office. The court's decisions mean they'll collect even less, said Grant, a financial consultant first elected last year. It's disappointing, he said, a $12,000 pay cut for people who sacrifice so much and already come out of pocket is something unfortunate. Anyone taking a pay cut in any job they serve in this economy is not a deal, particularly in how we serve our constituents. Representative John King, who has long proposed increasing legislators' pay, called the decision legally sound, but added it would continue to keep people from running for the legislature. This is not just about dollars, the Rock Hill Democrat said in a text message. It's about access to democracy. After legislators return to the State House in January, they could pass a law to reinstate their $1,000 monthly allowance. They could even reapprove the raise as long as it doesn't take effect until January 2027. Chief Justice John Kittredge suggested during arguments. It could become part of next year's budget debate for the 26-27 fiscal year. But 2026 is an election year for the House. Republicans in that chamber may not want to take any vote on their pay until 2027. That means legislators may go to at least a year and a half with the lowest pay in decades. In addition to their $10,400 annual salary, legislatures receive a per diem for each day they spend in session, which is meant to cover meals and lodging. The payments, which are tied to Columbia hotel rates, change annually and can be spent on anything. This year, legislatures receive $240 daily. Each legislator gets the money no matter how close they live to Columbia. This is a huge subject, and I am glad of the decision. It's not that I disagree with the decision. I don't know. Maybe I do. It's not that I disagree with the decision. What I disagree with is the way it was done. And obviously, that's what the Supreme Court feels too. All right. What have we got here? We got messages coming in left and right here, Ann. Let's see. That's further proof that a few of them have common sense. I love it. I love it. I really love our new text line, text and voice line. What do I like about it? I'm going to come back to this. We'll finish up and move on. What do I like about it? 864-332-9355. If you have a comment, you can just pick up that phone and just call it. You don't have to, you do not have to, text it in there. You can text it, or you can call it, and it'll take your message and turn it into a text. So that's why I like it. Yes, we've got all kinds of messages coming in here. What's this other one? Okay. Yes, well, it doesn't, okay, all right, I'm not even going to go there. I'm just going to stay straight and narrow here this morning. Well, this isn't like you, Ann. I'm just trying to be very precise on this part. The problem was they voted it after the budget had been done. They added it as, I guess, a budget addendum. I don't know the proper term. They tried to turn it in, get it to the governor. The governor just signed off on it. I was a little irritated with Henry about that. I didn't think he should have done that, but he did, and he went along with it because the legislature has the power. The governor does not have the power, but he could have said, I'm not signing off on that. I remember when Nikki Haley was governor, and remember when she first started all these earmarks, she started just slicing them out, and then they'd have to go back and argue about it and everything, keeping an earmark in or keeping it out. Earmarks were out last year, so I guess that's why they didn't even argue about this point right here. But the bottom line is, I've also heard that earmarks could be coming back. So stay tuned, folks. It's always exciting. Even though justices agreed with Clymer's points, that was the person that filed the suit, they chastised the senator in their opinion, noting he shouldn't have filed the lawsuit in the first place. Legislators, especially those who voted in favor of the law, shouldn't use the courts to hash out political differences, Justice wrote. Well, I agree with that, but look at the federal government, what they're doing. People are suing, and this is coming back and forth. One day the federal government, Trump's administration, can do this. The next day he's enjoined from doing that. Absent an incredibly rare situation, which is not present here, we strongly discourage disgruntled members of General Assembly from using this court as a forum in which to vent their grievances with the body they serve, the opinion reads. Justices said they took the case because someone else sued with Clymer, a retired teacher, Carol Herring, a private citizen. Clymer, who is running for Congress, objected to the idea that he couldn't sue over laws he thought were wrong because he held public office. See, this is just crazy. I believe all citizens, especially legislators, should defend the Constitution anytime it is trespassed, Clymer said. I don't think legislators forfeited constitutional rights when they take an oath of office. I think that oath of office binds them to an even higher duty of defending the Constitution, including in the court system. I don't know. What do you think about that? I do think legislators should be held to a higher standard. And if using the courts is the only way, and that was the only way, but I was not aware that because that private citizen teacher signed on it, it's just why the our South Carolina court took it up. There is a little good news out there, Ann. That is a good thing. That is a good thing. So, what do you think about it? 864-332-9355. John McCravey said he voted against it. There were a lot that voted against it. That's why it didn't make it out of the House. I believe it made it through the Senate, and the House, I actually didn't think the House took it up. So as I said, I thought we were in good stead. Nothing would happen. A lot. I don't know how many legislators, as I said they would not accept the money. Kind of like, I mean, it's very parallel type of thing between what the House and Senate and the federal government. We had those saying they wouldn't take their pay during the shutdown. There should be a law. I'm going to tell you what, I hope Lindsey Graham does get that law through. If the government goes into shutdown, you don't get paid either, because we had government, our legislators and senators all got paid during this time. Now, there are many that did not take the money or did donate it to charity but they did not accept the money. Sherry Biggs was one, Lindsey Graham, Tim Scott. I don't remember about Tim Scott. I better not say that. But there were many that did not take the money. And so the workings of government needs to be tighter. We need to have a more cohesive group. So, oh my goodness, this just came in. Okay. All right. Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. There is news happening all over the world, all over in our area. But anyways, I am glad that they will have to take that up. I think they better think it through. And right now, they do not even get their $1,000 a month per diem, which is a shame. Not per diem, per in-district expense, which is a shame. But they will have to negotiate that and see what they can do. All right. I just saw this, just came across. This actually came out, I guess, last night. I'm just seeing it now. This is from the Lawrence paper. South Carolina Baptist votes to sell the Martha Franks retirement community. In 1954, SC Baptist established retirement communities as primary methods of serving retired Baptist ministers and other aging adults across the state. Their ownership in the communities is coming to an end as of November 11th. Annual SC Baptist Convention meeting resulted in a vote to sell the Martha Franks and Bethia retirement communities. How about that? Tom Turner, Executive Director and CEO of the South Carolina Baptist Ministries of Aging, made it clear that while they're saying goodbye to the properties, leadership can see a future of continuing to provide financial assistance to retired pastors and ministers. The next chapter would allow us to continue fulfilling this mission in a new and more accessible ways. Still, local churches in Lawrence with history and love for Martha Franks retirement community find the decision perhaps necessary but heartbreaking. So that is, although we've seen this across the state and other states where churches are not, and actually it probably has a lot to do with the money and the expense of maintaining and caring for a facility. So that's all I'm going to say on that one this morning. So here we are. It is November 13th. The government is back open. Everybody is they are going to get people paid. They've got all this going on. And then you have the Epstein files coming back around again. I mean, I just kind of say to myself, if there really was something there, right? Why didn't this get brought up when they were trying to bury Trump, right? Why did it not happen when they were trying to bury Trump? Do you think there is anything in the Epstein files? Do you think this new email that's surfaced about supposedly about Trump is true? Do you think it's true, or do you think if they'd had that they wouldn't have used that a long time ago? I think it's probably not true. I'll say, because I kind of agree that if they had this information and they were looking at a way to destroy Trump, would they not have brought this up during the election period? Would they not have used it when they were trying to bury him even more? I say yes. You know, they always say, if you don't want to know what's in the sausage, don't watch it being made, right? And that, quote, politics is like sausage. If you don't like it, don't look at it, just look at the end result. I think what has happened over these last 2 or 3 years has exposed things that I think we really didn't even want to know. And now we know them, and you can't look away from it. But it makes you very suspicious of your government. You know, as if it's enough that we got the government open. Now President Trump is talking about a $2,000, I guess really we could call it a dividend from the tariffs for every American. He's talking about disassembling health care and giving you the money to negotiate the health care. Even some of that would is designed to take the sting of what has been going on away from it and try to spin things in a positive manner. Look, the tariffs are doing so well. Well, what's going to happen with the Supreme Court? The Supreme Court could say, nah, we're not going to let you do this. I tell you what, I am totally amazed at the power of the Supreme Court and how quick people are to move something up to the Supreme Court to be able to have it Trump stopped, enjoined, or whatever from doing whatever. I really wonder, who's in charge here? We talk about this all the time in the balance of power. The Supreme Court is supposed to be one leg, then you have the House and the Senate, and then you have the executive. And the way it seems to rule anymore, and I don't even see how these 7 justices can even make this decision based on the fact that how do they have enough information to do it? Well, they're doing it based on the Constitution. But even that has to go to interpretation. And some of the things that we're working on today are not even, I don't think they're really addressed in a modern way to the Constitution. Right now, they're debating whether the tariffs are constitutional. And it's like Trump said, if that doesn't work, we'll find another way. This thing with down there in Venezuela, where they are destroying the boats, and they've now moved the Gerald Ford aircraft carrier down there. And, before long, somebody will say, is this constitutional? We have so much going on every day. It is so nice to live in a smaller town where we just don't have the huge issues. Now, mark my words, we have our own issues right here in Greenwood, in Abbeville, and 96, Calhoun Falls. but those issues are local issues, and we can work on those. That's going to end my rant for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and for all the people that have contributed with it, contributed to the show here this morning. We've had some people weigh in on the Epstein. My opinion, if there was nothing there, he would not have a problem with them being released. It seems like every day it is just a mountain of stuff. And, the bottom line is, this stuff is all distraction to what we should be concentrating on, which is doing the people's business, which is finishing a budget that should have been finished by September 30th. Now they're going to wind it up, baby, and see if they can have the shiny object over here create so that there's not a discussion over here about the real issues. And that's, my friend, is what I think is such a waste. They won't have a budget done by January. We all know that. If they did, I would be totally shocked. They've had to give themselves more time since they spent 43 days in a shutdown, so now they had to extend the time to now it goes into January. I get weary of listening and watching and trying to understand what is the purpose of all of this, while all of us suffer on this end of just trying to keep up. The healthcare issue is something they've got to address. President Trump seems to think giving people the money and let them negotiate on their own is a good way to go. Supposedly the money would only be able to use for health care. Well, I see that as a system that is fraught with problems right there. I also agree, though. Obamacare is broken. But then why wasn't this something that you worked on since January? Why is it something that we come all the way down to September and they still don't have it solved? If it was that huge an issue before, why didn't they spend the time? It boggles my mind. So, we will have to see what we see when we get there. Okay. I think that our government is broke. I think they waste a lot of time doing senseless stuff, and it's all about the spin. I don't think it's right that the Trump administration is limiting our media people to certain areas and only certain access. They did that in the Pentagon. They've done that now in the White House. They only can go in certain areas. I mean, I agree they shouldn't have free reign, but they keep making it so that we will have less information. So I'm not sure I agree with that. The one thing I agree with, they need a list. They need to go ahead and knock out health care before Christmas. And this idea of just handing out money to shut everybody up, there are a lot of people would say, heck yeah. I think they need to look at truly where we are at and then try to figure out what can be done about health care, number one, because that is the elephant in the room. That expires on December 31st. On top of that, people are trying to make decisions on which health care option to take. Right now, that this only goes through, December 7th, and then another group has to be out by December 15th. Is the government going to do anything, or are they just going to let it spiral out of control and let people just have to pay these outrageous fees for health care? Can they, in the next 2 or 3 weeks, get something done? Oh, I forgot. We got Thanksgiving. Well, we can't be there for Thanksgiving, and then we've got the Christmas recess. So what are they going to do about health care? That is the question. That is always the question. And why wasn't it done sooner? So, end of discussion. Stop. Let's go ahead and check the weather. That is going to be a positive thing this morning. So let's check the weather. Plus, there is a T. Graham Brown concert this evening. I believe it starts at 5:30 in Uptown Greenwood. T. Graham Brown, pretty famous country singer. He is going to be here. He has been here to Greenwood, but it's been, maybe 6 or 7 years. I think I interviewed him when we were still over at Sharp Facets. So anyways, looking forward to that this evening. Right now it is 61 degrees, feels like 61. We are headed for a high today, hallelujah, 71 degrees. And tonight we'll have a low of 37, Friday, we are headed for a mainly sunny sky, high of 70 degrees, winds light and variable. And Friday night, which is going to be a double-header football night, mostly clear sky, low of 42. Saturday comes in with sunny along with a few clouds, high around 75. And Saturday night, it is mainly clear and a low of 56. So we are looking for some good weather. Sunday's going to be another great day, high of 77. And Sunday night, a low of 40. After that, we're going to stay in the low 70s and in the low 50s at night the following week. So we're back in more seasonable weather, and that sure makes you feel better, doesn't it? So don't forget about the T. Graham Brown concert. That is tonight at 5:30, Uptown Greenwood. It's going to be a beautiful night for a concert. Maybe get out and kick up your heels a little bit and have a good time at the T. Graham Brown concert. That is a very good thing. I also want to tell you, if you're out there shopping, doing any early Christmas shopping, we are getting ready right here at WCRS to do our huge toy drive for District 50. That'll be for ages 4 to 11. And it also is going to cover District 51 Ware Shoals. So we're adding that because we can do it and because there is a need. I need you all to be looking at buying gifts, or if you'd like to make a contribution or gift cards to me, who will be out there doing a lot of his shopping with my other elf, Diane, out there. We would love your help. We also partner with the American Legion on this project, so we would love your help. The boxes are going to go out by probably the 1st of next week. So please get prepared for that. And I want to say a big shout out to our sponsors that are coming on board with us on that. It is a blessing to have so much help in this community to help. By the way, if you have a gently used bike that you'd like to donate, I have bike angels ready to spiff them up and make them look really good. So we would love to give out some bikes this holiday season too. So that's a little bit about what I've got going on. We've got the bikes. We're also looking at the parade out at Burton Center and another project that is under wraps until it comes out of wraps. Well, is that enough, Ann? I don't know. Oh, anyways, I love doing this job. I love helping our community. I love trying to keep our legislators straight, and that's a big job. That's a big job. So if you are ready to help out in our toy drive, we really would appreciate it. We have done exceptionally well over the last few years. I also want to say that Toys for Tots is going to be working with us too to make this project a reality. So However you'd like to contribute, we could use any and all donations, and we'll be making sure that we make a bright Christmas for those in District 50 who are kind of left in the dust because they don't qualify here, they don't qualify there, but the teachers and the counselors, they know the need, which is why I like working with District 50 and looking forward to working with District 51 to make sure that we are helping the children that have true need in our community. So, when we do this, we make sure that there is true need in the family and help out any way that we can to make sure that they have that. All right, I'm sure there are a million other things I should be talking about. This one has me kind of excited, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about it for a second. Join our festive gingerbread house competition. This is, if you'd like to make a gingerbread and like to compete in this is a countywide, I guess, junior bakers, there's categories. Junior bakers ages 6 to 8, no fee to get in. Youth bakers ages 9 to 12 are also free. Groups, individuals, non-professionals, local nonprofit clubs, service organizations, $10 entry fee. So all of these have a category. Individuals, non-professionals, local nonprofits, clubs, service organizations, it's a $10. Now, if you're a professional baker, it's going to cost you $20. But still, that's a little price for a big recognition. All entry fees go towards prizes and event promotions. Participants are responsible for their own materials. So between December 10th and 12th, between 2 and 5, you get to drop off your gingerbread house at the museum. Wednesday to Friday, December 17th to the 19th, from 2 to 5, there will be public voting, 1 vote per person per day. Saturday, December 20th at 12 noon, the winners will be announced. So how about that? That is our festive gingerbread house competition. I think that is pretty darn cool. So I wanted to mention that one. Let's see, what else did I have over here? Let's go back over here, see if there's something else. Wow, Greenwood School District 50. The Westview Middle School Band Program recently received a grant from the South Carolina Arts Commission. This grant, in the amount of $2,500, will allow the band to purchase a class set of musician chairs and 3 instruments for student use. The South Carolina Arts Commission receives support from the National Endowment of the Arts. That is so cool. I think that is terrific. And of course, that goes along with what we do right there at Greenwood Performing Arts with our music education and encouragement, which is called ME, which helps students. In fact, we just sealed the deal with Mac Arnold to come down the week of Thanksgiving, and he's going to be at a couple of the schools right here in Greenwood. So that's going to be pretty exciting too. Also, let's see. Also, it looks like the Greenwood Family YMCA, this is the Lawrence YMCA annual reindeer run 5K, and you can sign up early and get early bird pricing. So check that out. It will be the Lawrence YMCA Reindeer Run December 13th at 9 a.m. Early bird registration ends November 23rd. Save $5 and get your race shirt. So if you'd like to be in a run, you can run or walk, bring the kids, and join the fun. All support our Youth Scholarship Fund. Registered today at go to the YMCA over there in Lawrence to check out that experience. These are new things I hadn't even seen, so I'm just kind of flipping through on the Arts Center here. Of course, the program, Tutus and Tea, is back. That is brought to you through GPA. That is coming up Sunday, November 23rd from 2 to 4 at the Arts Center. You need to go ahead and get your tickets. You can get your tickets at greenwoodperformingarts.org. They also have another site, but go to greenwoodperformingarts.org. You will be able to see where to register for tickets. The date is Saturday. I thought it was on a Sunday, but let's see. Am I wrong or am I right? Okay, it is on a Sunday, even though it has it on Facebook that way. It is on Sunday, November 23rd from 2 to 4 at the Arts Center. Tickets required for both children and adults. This is really a great experience. They read the story of the Nutcracker. They have an international ballet coming down to present a part of the show, and then afterward the children and the adults get to talk to the ballerinas, get your pictures taken and everything. It's a lot of fun. So make sure you check that out and get your tickets. That does usually sell out. So anyways, that's another one that is coming up. I'm done. There's so much out there. Somebody's dinging me. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Okay, we're good there. All right, thank you very much. I got a couple of kudos on addressing the subject with the legislators here this morning on whether they should get their, about them getting their raise. It is good to know. It is good to know that when things are done wrongly, and I firmly believe that the way the legislators went about doing that was wrong. It is good to know that people, there is a right and it was prevailed in the courts. There you go. That's what I wanted to say. It is good to know that I was calling them out from the beginning. And I can now say I've been vindicated because a lot of people said I was not being very good. But I can say I was vindicated. The Supreme Court of South Carolina upheld the decision. It is unfortunate, however, that because they took this gamble of going for the whole enchilada, that they have lost part of it, the $10,000 or the $12,000 a year that they usually get, $1,000 a month in district expense. It is unfortunate that they lost that, but that's what happens when you don't do things right, folks. Anyways, I'm Ann Eller. This afternoon, I am going to be at the T. Graham Brown concert. I think you should sign up for notifications right there on WCRS. I don't know. I may take Penny. I may not. But we're going to be out and about. We may do a little Facebook Live. She's having a spa day right now. So you know she's going to be saying what? Take me out, Mom. I look good. Like you knew I would. That's right. I am a poodle with a puppy cut, but I am so beautiful and that people love me, Mom. Anyways, I'm Ann Eller. That's going to do it for me. Have a great day. We are going to have no show this afternoon because I am going to be at the T. Graham Brown show in Uptown Greenwood. So, put the curtain down and cue the music, and we're out of here. Bye-bye, everybody.